News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
So we had a little conversation earlier about CHOP and Chaz and what's going on up there. And I think they're getting serious about shutting this down. So officials in Seattle told protesters who've taken over roughly 6 blocks in the city's capital that they must leave the area. Now, this isn't random. This decision comes after one person was apparently killed and 2 others were injured in 2 shootings over the weekend. Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin said city officials will work with community leaders to encourage people to leave voluntarily. The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Chaz, CHOP.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My God. First off, shame on me and shame on you and shame on everyone. My goddamn attack crows. My attack crows. I mean, non-lethal force, you know what I mean? You want to protect your business. You know, when all the shit's going down, you got kind of 2 choices. Get up on the roof with a bolt-action hunting rifle or move out of the way and let everyone just break and loot and burn your place down to the ground. Or you could have my attack crows.
Yeah.
My attack crows just sitting up on that parapet. No angry Antifa member could get near that place. No white supremacist could get near that place. There's nothing you could do. I mean, if you were just that, that angry 19-year-old like running at the place with your skateboard and your lighter fluid and the crow attacked your head, all you do is run the other way.
Yep.
That's
You're
all
like
you
Brad
could
Pitt
do.
At the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you're like, you can come with the store if you want to, and they start to advance on you.
Right. Dog. Pow.
Just descend.
Yeah, the attack grows, and you want to break up Jonestown in the middle of Seattle. Just go send the attack grows in. It's not no permanent damage. Just whacking at everyone's head. Look, as long as you're running the other direction, you're safe. Because
standing mobile or standing stationary.
Well, I mean, you think about everything. It's like the rubber bullets, and then they fire the tear gas canisters, but then they pick up the tear gas canisters and throw them back. I think future generations are going to build up a tolerance to tear gas. I think, like they do with antibiotics or pests do when they become immune to Roundup or whatever fertilizer or bug spray they're spraying. Like future generations will not be affected by tear gas. We're going to have a whole super group of riders, but they fire there's this thing which is the taser works sometimes, but it doesn't work other times. And then other times they use the taser on them or they fire. The attack crows couldn't be used on the officers or whoever was deploying the attack crows. And so a lot of stuff is you fire the tear gas canister, then the tear gas canister gets kicked. And now you got the tear gas where you are.
Right.
Or your taser in the scuffle gets used on you, or your gun gets used on you, or whatever that thing is. And then the non-lethal stuff is like so non-lethal that it doesn't really deter people from doing a lot of stuff. Attack crows, man. Attack crows. That's it. Up top. They come diving down, they whack you in the head, and then it's right back up to the parapet. They're just hanging around. Like, who would break those lines? What kid would encroach?
As a guy who's been attacked by a mockingbird,
right?
And a crow is just insanely terrifying.
The mockingbird is the size of a hood ornament, and it's horrifying. Literally, you have to run down the street screaming. A raven or a crow is so much bigger. It would work.
And trainable.
And all these things are happening outside, so it's perfect.
Yeah. I know this started off as a humorous comedic bit, but I was totally on board when it was brought up that it should be used for. I may have brought it up for school shooters.
Yeah,
yes, you did.
Yeah, you see someone on campus. If you see a weapon, you know what I mean. You just train them to see a weapon, any kind of gun or crossbow. They just descend. They descend, and it's madness.
Well, we're looking for, and we were kind of talking about the application of the person that's going to go into the Home Depot and shoot it up. That they just kind of hung out in the rafters, and somebody comes walking in with a weapon. They go at their head now. Look, there's sort of 2 or 3 sides of this. The attack crow thing, which is you don't want the problem with cops wrestling with citizens is we don't want the citizen dead and we don't want the cop dead. Mm-hmm. And the problem with cops, or by the way, anybody, if there's a 10% chance you're going to die and a 90% chance, if there's just a small percentage that you may die, you're going to use your weapon. That's just how human beings roll. So also, we don't like the idea of the German Shepherd getting stabbed in the street or whatever either. Crows, nobody's ever mourned the life of a crow, number one. Number two, the German Shepherd and or the cop and his gun can do a lot of serious and permanent damage. The crow's not going to do any damage. It just forces you to stop doing whatever you're doing and start doing something else, namely fleeing. So, yes, let's use the TAC Roast. Gina?
Yeah.
Do you think PETA would have a problem with it? Because I think they're okay with police dogs. I don't know if because they're trainable and they're fed and they're taken care of. I wonder if they have a problem with attack crows.
Well, and they get a hero's funeral in the Canine Patrol.
I'm assuming PETA has a problem with everything now. I'm sure they're against everything that has to do with anything. That's what I'm assuming. But go ahead.
Yeah. So back to the Chaz. Durkin did not provide a timeline for dismantling the autonomous zone, and it did not say what the city would do if people refused to leave. And I think she's in a little bit of a precarious situation because she was the one that told Trump to go back to his bunker and we'll handle it. And he's saying, we'll use force and law and order. And, the politicians of Seattle kind of don't want to be associated with him. So they're like, can you just do us a solid and get out of here so we don't have to get the president involved? That's kind of what I think it's what it's coming to.
Well, I would say this to any politician. First off, I was just talking to Drew about the mayor of Oakland, and there's a lot of lady mayors and governors out there now.
One thing, called mayors.
Oh, lady mayor. One thing that's opened this whole thing up is there's a lot. I've seen every night on TV and every time I open the paper, I don't open the paper, but I hear the stories or whatever. There's a lot of females in government. It's sort of snuck up on me. I don't know what I can do about it now, but the point is you turn on the TV, there's a lot of women out there who are in government. The thing about you're putting yourself in a bad position as a politician if you go, I'll just do the opposite of whatever Trump said. You should just go, I hate Trump, and I'll do the opposite of what he would do most of the time. Or almost all the time, but on occasion, that the broken clock is going to be right twice a day. Right. That's because I think some people
I think that's where they're at.
They back themselves into this thing. It's like, I disagree with everything that guy says or does, and now you backed yourself in a corner.
That's what it looks like they're at.
All right.
So Bill Cosby, speaking of guys that may or may not spend the rest of their lives in prison, this is hot off the presses. Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled Tuesday that Bill Cosby is allowed to appeal two key issues in his 2018 conviction on sexual assault charges. So he's 82 and is less than 2 years into his 3 to 10 year prison sentence. Tuesday's ruling grants Cosby the ability to appeal two issues in the case. One issue focuses on the prior bad act witnesses who testified about alleged assaults that were not part of the charges. And the second focuses on the prior district attorney's decision not to charge Cosby a decade ago. At his criminal trial, Montgomery County Judge Stephen O'Neill allowed 5 other women, including supermodel Janice Dickinson, to testify that Cosby had incapacitated and assaulted them in other incidents. Prosecutor says these prior bad act witnesses showed Cosby has a pattern in his assaults. Cosby's legal team has argued that their testimony was dated and dissimilar from the criminal accusations and should never have been allowed in court.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well throw anything at the wall and see if it sticks. What choice does he have?
I guess. I wonder what Cosby's net worth is now, because at a certain point you stop earning and you start burning the cash. Speaking of that, I turned on, actually, Garagos sent me a text, or, I guess he sent me an email or something. It's like, hey, look who's on CNN. I was watching Willie T. Ribs on there with Don Lemon. Or no, maybe Anderson Cooper. I can't remember.
I heard he was going to be on Don Lemon. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, probably Don Lemon in there talking about the whole Bubba Wallace thing. Yeah, and God bless him, he's wearing an uppity hat.
Yeah.
Which
he loves that hat.
But it's so funny because I'm sitting there last night and I'm watching my friend Willie T breaking through to the mainstream on CNN, and then I wake up that morning and Jimmy's getting busted for blackface, and I thought, well, this is a weird world we're living in now. I mean, boy, my new kind of motto is you stick around long enough, you see everything now. I mean, just think what is going on. And anyway, it's also a thing, too, where it's like I was excited that Willie T was on CNN last night being interviewed, and then, of course, disappointed this morning when I saw all my buddies getting outed. But anyway.
Willie had to have mentioned the doc, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think.
Because how else would they introduce him?
Yeah. He said it was directed by Blair Underwood, which disappointed me.
Yeah.
But I understood that there's a little too much baggage associated with me.
Sure.
It was DeJules Dash.
Yeah.
Do we have a clip or is that a screenshot?
We'll just show you the screen grab. So that's him and Don Lemon, and Willie is wearing his uppity hat.
God bless him. All right. What else you got, Gina?
Well, here's a new one.
By the way, Scott Eastwood on tomorrow, everybody. I'm excited.
All right.
He's was he was in the last Fast?
He was in the last. He was in Fast 8, Fate.
Oh yeah, man, that guy's
Little
good.
Nobody, they called him.
I'm excited to talk to that guy. All right, sorry.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Jackie Lacey announced Tuesday that adult film star Ron Jeremy was charged with forcibly raping 3 women and sexually assaulting another in separate incidents dating back several years.
First, they take down Washington statue. Then they go for Lincoln. And now Ron... I don't know who to look... What about my world?
What do I believe in?
Yeah.
67 years old. His real name, Ronald Jeremy Hyatt. He's due in downtown court today as we're recording to be arraigned on an 8-count criminal complaint. The district attorney's office says the incidents happened between 2014 and 2019. If convicted, and remember, this is just the beginning, so who knows? If convicted, Jeremy faces a maximum sentence of 90 years to life in state prison. And I'm sure we'll get all kinds of details. This is just the very beginning.
Yeah, It's weird. I don't know why. It always sticks in my head because I grew up with Christy Canyon and her sister, and her sister asked me to the Sadie Hawkins dance. I think, and by the way, that's got to be illegal now, right, or something. Anyway,
proud of one.
I had so I always kind of knew Christy Canyon, and you've already heard the stories, but. I remember very clearly her saying years ago when I interviewed her for terrestrial radio that I think she said that, yeah, me and Ron would just have sex just to have sex. Like, he was just like a fuck buddy. Like it wasn't for money. Like, at a certain point, it was just like booty calls and stuff. And I don't know why that struck me, that porn stars just having sex to have sex without getting paid on a Thursday night. Just it struck me as weird, but I don't know why. Kind of in a weird way.
What could possibly be more normal?
I know. It just
more consistent.
But I never think about porn stars having sex with each other and not getting paid.
Like a football player just playing a pickup game.
Yeah,
that's
what it felt
in the
like.
Summer.
Anyway.
So yeah, we'll keep track of that. Odd, especially local news. Otherwise, I may not have brought it up. But movie producer, film financier, and real estate heir, and major Democratic political donor Steve Bing has died. He was 55. But here's the thing. So without giving a name, KTLA 5 says the city fire department said it responded to a report of a 55-year-old man jumping from a building at the same time and same place in Culver City. This just happened.
Century City?
I'm sorry. Thank you. Century
They
City.
don't have tall enough buildings in
So
Culver
there's no
City.
building tall enough.
You're
to make
absolutely
damage.
right. Century City. You're right. Jumped from a building in Century City. He produced the 2000 Sylvester Stallone film Get Carter. He was a major investor in the Polar Express, the Tom Hanks animated film. He was a big LA socialite guy, dated a lot of famous women. He fathered a child with Elizabeth Hurley, and she even put out a statement. It looks like he jumped from a building in Century City.
All roads lead to me to people being Me Too'd or outed or something. Like, if this guy got around L.A. and made the rounds, maybe he knew about something. Maybe something
That's
was
possible.
coming down the pike. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. It wasn't like from what I, just read, real quick as this was going on. I think there was a paternity test with Elizabeth Hurley, and who's the father? I'm not the father. You are the father. There was a lawsuit with the Krikorians, the big movie chain people. So I think he got into stuff, but no reasons have been given.
Tell Matt I'd like to start a paternity issue with Elizabeth Hurley. Okay? Now, obviously the kid's not mine, but I want people thinking that I banged Elizabeth Hurley. I just want to kind of get it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your 18-year-old son. You got her in her prime.
Yeah,
right.
I'm seeing in 2001, Elizabeth said that she was pregnant and Bing was the father. And then Bing denies that he's the father and claims, hey, we don't have an exclusive relationship. And then took a DNA test and proved that he was the father.
Oh, even better. Like, hey, man,
Yeah.
you're just my side piece, Elizabeth.
You knew how this was going to go down.
You're not a full-timer. I get around. Wow.
Yeah.
Man. There you go. Sad.
Yeah, so we'll see what we find out about that. You mentioned Tina Fey, so might as well just put a bow around that. Several episodes, 3-ish, of 30 Rock will be leaving all platforms soon if they haven't already. The episodes feature characters in blackface, and at the request of NBC, Universal, and Tina Fey and Robert Carlock, they're being made unavailable to stream or buy or really find. So here's the ones, and see if you remember these. 2 of the episodes involve Jenna Maroney, that's Jane Krakowski's character, darkening her skin with makeup. In one episode, season 3's Believe in the Stars, she and Tracy Morgan, switch places for a day as an experiment. In season 5's Christmas Attack Zone, Jenna dresses up as a black Pittsburgh Steelers star, Lynn Swan, while her boyfriend, who's played by Will Forte, dresses as Natalie Portman in Black Swan. In season 6's live episode from Studio 6H, John Hamm does a spoof on Amos and Andy and appeared in blackface. And by the way, I guess the timing is right because they're about to do a 1-hour commercial-free special that's going to air July 16th on NBC. Everybody's in it. Tina Fey, Alec Baldwin, Tracy Morgan, Jane Krakowski, Jack McBrayer. And that's going to serve as a sort of a launch for their new Peacock streaming service. So maybe one to get their Peacocks, Ducks, whatever in a row before their big celebratory reunion.
Yeah. I don't know. Comedy seems, comedy's a strange place to pursue because the essence of comedy is, it means parody, it means laughter, it means I'm not, to me, if you take something like, if you take a subject like racism, it's as serious and unfunny as a subject gets on its face. I mean, there's no comedy in racism. When people are doing comedy, I think it's hard to be racist and do comedy at the same time. It's kind of hard to do a lot of things and do comedy at the same time. I always think of comedy as just comedy. I've never wanted to examine it. Even comedians telling jokes or doing sketches or something. It's a weird place to look. It's just, if you're trying to alleviate something, if there's a problem, going to comedy is a weird place to go. Or if you're trying to fix a social something, it just feels weird to go after comedy.
You know who I'd love to interview about this? Mel Brooks. Because for somebody who's seen what he's seen, lived through what he's lived through, and done things like the producers that are just making fun of and satirizing Nazis, and you think, well, that's inappropriate. We shouldn't even bring it up. Well, his I guess offense and defense against anti-Semitism was to laugh at it and to laugh at these people. So I wonder what someone like that's perspective is on this type of thing.
Well, we started to jump the shark comedically when I've always kind of pitched, like, where is our Archie Bunker? What happened to Archie Bunker? And then it's like, oh, well, we could never say that again, or you could never have that character again. And it always drove me nuts because it's like, it's fundamentally backward. My super liberal hippie mom would sit around and watch the shit out of All in the Family and laugh at Archie Bunker, making fun of Archie. And I would, as a 9-year-old, I would sit next to her, completely understood the context when Sammy Davis Jr. would show up and go, I'm your new neighbor, or whatever it is. And he'd go, hey, or whatever, call him a Polak or whatever he called a Jew or whatever he did. Had utter context. He was the butt of the joke, and everyone understood it. What is this now that we can't work the context for things? Yes.
Well, and so what I was thinking as I was reading that was, in this context, Jenna Maroney in 30 Rock is Archie Bunker. That's the whole role. The joke's always on her about how dumb she is. So she shows up for Halloween dressed as Lynn Swan and not Black Swan, and she's always the one that's misunderstanding everything, and the narcissist and the narrow-minded, and that's what made that character funny. So she is the Archie Bunker, and they're gonna get rid of those.
Well, again, in my consistency, I've always said, if somebody takes my car to get it detailed as a surprise for me and it gets totaled by a drunk driver, I'm never mad at the person. It's like, you were trying to do something. If you took my car joyriding and totaled it, that's a completely different thing. It's still a totaled car. You know what I mean? So one context is laughter and parody, and the other is an attempt at offending people. Or one blackface or one version of this is not meant to be that kind of entertainment. To me, it's a context. Do you think she's a racist? Do you think the writers at 30 Rock are racist? Do you think any of this is happening? Yes, Brian.
I was going to say, I speaking of which, I haven't seen this on social media yet. I'm sure it's coming. It's inevitable. But probably around the same time, I don't know if you guys watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
One of my favorites.
But Caitlin Olsen did a character, her news character, where she was Puerto Rican, I guess, and she did the brown face and everything. But you mentioned Kurkowski. I've never seen 30 Rock, but it's perfectly in line with Caitlin Olsen's character, D, who is an idiot. And they all do horrible things all the time.
They're bad people. That's the whole point. They're like Seinfeld, but more villainous and ridiculous. And that's, so I would think they'd get a pass, but who knows at this point.
Context, everybody. All right, let's do one more.
Okay, well, I do have the Twitter letter that Jeff Ross posted. I don't know if you want to save that or do that.
No, well, hear some of it.
Okay. So, in this whole roundup of, what's going on with everybody, he's been accused of, I believe when he was 33, having relations with a 15-year-old. And he, I guess, had been pretty quiet about it and wanted to get his thoughts together. And he's put this letter up on Twitter, and it reminded me of the kind of thing that, that you've talked about, Adam. Basically, when you're not guilty, this is the kind of thing you say. So I'll read it to you. It's 3 paragraphs. So bear with me, and we'll see what we think here. Twitter, it's taken a lot of discipline for me not to respond until now because I believe this is a mental health issue and I support people when they are hurting. But let me be clear. These disgusting allegations asserted against me are absolutely not true. I've never engaged in any sexual relationship with a minor. This story is old news. It's been investigated numerous times and thoroughly reviewed and never published. The witnesses and evidence do not support these despicable allegations. The person making these allegations has falsely accused others and has a documented history of drug abuse. Her best friend at the time did not support her allegations. Her husband, who is clearly assisting her, has been convicted of a crime involving dishonesty. They've been harassing me for years. Rather than continue on with the with reciting even more evidence than that refutes this nonsense. I will just say that I'm hopeful that this person gets the mental help they need. I intend to take legal action based on these untrue, horrific allegations because no one, no matter how sick they are, should be allowed to continue to try and benefit from false stories while attempting to destroy others. I'm proud of my reputation, not just as a comedian, but as a human being and an ally to women. The dangerous environment currently being exposed at the comedy clubs is real. I wholeheartedly support change and vow to do more to make my community safer for everyone. Although this accusation is false, I want there to be no doubt of my commitment to victims of sexual assault. Love and respect, Jeff Ross.
Wow, resounding.
Jeff is a very sweet guy. If you know these guys personally, we're talking about what a good guy Jimmy is. Jeff's one of those guys. And read it again in black voice and let me really ponder this.
But when you've always said, like, where are the people countersuing? And, he says, I'm taking up legal action.
There's something that was I found like a kind of an interesting tell in this story because I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't heard about it. Then AJ Benza brought it up, and I was like, "Huh? I didn't know any. I know Jeff well." And I went home and I Googled it, and I found the story. And the woman who's telling the story of when she was 15 and I don't know wanted tickets to a Friars Club roast or something, and she posted a picture of her and Jeff, and Jeff has his arm around her like you would take a picture with a young fan kind of thing back in the day, and his arm is like around her waist. You can see his hand coming back, and she writes, and look how close his arm is to my breast. And it's sort of like, well, if you put your arm anywhere around a woman, there's going to be, but that's a weird thing. I don't know. That little piece of information said, I don't know what she's trying to do, but it feels like she's trying to do something here. That's a picture. Yeah, that's a picture of a guy with his arm around your waist, not grabbing your breast. And yeah, it is 7 inches from your breast, but if you dance,
that's where your waist is.
If you danced with someone, you'd go, look how close he was to my breast or whatever. I mean, Jesus Christ, get in a car with somebody, you're 14 inches from someone's breast, God willing. So anyway, I found that to be an interesting part and a little bit of a tell. All right, Gina, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.